Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be working on a Dear Jane quilt, and I have a variety of the Civil War reproduction fabric here that I am going to be putting into this quilt. It's going to be a series, so it's going to be multiple episodes because I'm going to be making at least, one block a week, hopefully more, for you guys to be able to kind of follow along. I won't be able to give you the pattern instructions just because unfortunately it's not my pattern. I am using the Dear Jane book by Brenda Papadakis. I think that's how you say her name. That one doesn't give you any instructions on how to actually construct the quilt, so all of these blocks I'm kind of learning how to do as I go, but this is the fabric that I'm going to be using. They are all scraps, and so I hope that you enjoy and follow along with me as I create this quilt. I've got the items that you need on the screen here, as well as your sewing machine and the A1 Dear Jane block pattern as well.
Okay, so I pulled out my selection of fabrics. This is what I'm going to go with, and I'm going to be cutting these up into some squares. I'm not going to give you those measurements only because I can't. It's not my pattern. I mean, granted, I did create the numbers for the pattern, but it is a Dear Jane, so I'm not sure how that contractual stuff is, so I'm not going to give you the sizes that I cut them in. I'm just going to get them cut, and then I'll bring you back once I get that all cut up, okay? Alright, so we've got all the pieces cut out, and now we're going to head over to the sewing table, and we are going to get these sewn together, and then we'll start pressing them. So let's go sew them.
Okay, so I am missing the audio on this part, so I'm doing a voiceover here, but you're going to need to make half square triangles. You'll need 8 of them, which is what I'm doing right now. You're just sewing down the center of the blocks in order to create those half square triangles, and then we'll cut along 1/4 of an inch past your sew line in order to get that half square triangle. You're also going to have to snowball some blocks with the smaller triangles that you created. Those are going to go on the corner of one of the blocks, but you're going to place it inwards and leaving 1/4 of an inch on each side, as well as 1/4 of an inch on the fabric itself. So when you open up that triangle, it's going to match the corner of your block, and that's going to create that snowball corner. That's what I'm going to be doing now, and I'll just let you guys continue to watch the rest of this part of the video.
Alright guys, so we're going to actually cut these apart now, and we're just going to cut in between each, and we'll just lay them down here. Pretty simple. You just snip all the little bits in between. Alright, now that we've got them all cut, I like to just press them all really quick just to help set the seam, keep just to kind of get that thread to be a little nicer in the fabric. So I just kind of press all of them really quick. It's not like this requires a lot of forethought. You just press it. Just like that. Alright, so I'm going to trim off my corners of my blocks really quick. I'm going to trim them all. Just this little corner bit. So this half you're going to leave 1/4 of an inch on your pieces. And I like to see if I have a little bit off on my line. So I try and get the bigger side if I'm off, because then that gives me a little bit of wiggle room and I can trim down. Alright, so all of those ones are trimmed. Now we're going to look at these first before we trim them to make sure that they line up, and that lined up perfectly, which is great. So we can trim it. I'm going to take the dog ears off and trim. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to press them open. And I'm rolling these all towards the dark. Every single one of them will go towards the darker color. Alright guys, and that is all the pressing we're going to do for right now. And we're going to take it over to the machine, and when we come back to the press table, all of these pieces will be sewn together into the block, and we will have a finished block. So let's go back to the sew table and we will get started on that. Okay, before we actually sew, I'm going to lay out the pattern for the pieces, and that way when I go to sew, I just have to pick them up and bring them over. So that's the layout for our block. I'll bring you up so you can see on the top here how that looks. So there's that. That's how they all look together, and then we're going to pick them up and we're going to sew row. I'm going to sew row, 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 and then row. Okay, so we won't separate them, we'll keep them joined together, and we're going to add the next one. And I'm going to just finger press right now. This is the next row, and it goes here. Open this one. Again, we don't trim them apart, we just go to the next piece. Now when you have these laid out, make sure when you put them onto your fabric, you're putting them in the right direction, that you're not accidentally flipping them, disorienting the fabric to where it's not going the correct direction, otherwise you and Jack are going to be friends. So now we've got it like that, so they're all connected. We're not misplacing which piece goes to where, and now we just have to sew it together. So we're going to put this guy on top just like that. We're going to nest the seams. We're nesting our seams, making sure that they lock together so that there is not a little gap. We want to be able to make sure we keep our points on our triangles. We want to make sure that we're not having a huge gap in between them, because you'll see it on the front if we have that happen. Hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully we get this right on each block. You can pin if you feel you need to. Pinning's always an option. I'm not a pinner. I don't like pinning. Now we're going to press our seams. I'm going to press mine up on this one. I'm not going to press the middle one in either direction because I actually want that to be an open press. I want that seam to be pressed open. I don't want to have that seam pressed to the side. Once again, we're going to nest that seam, making sure that it's locked together. And we sew. Alright, so our piece is all sewn together. It looks beautiful. Hopefully. Let me open it and we get to the press table. So I'm going to take you over there and we're going to press this and then we will see how well we did with our points. And the reason why we're opening this and pressing it open is because this center right here gets super bulky. So we need to make sure that it is pressed open to help the whole block lie flat. Let's go ahead and we're going to start. Just kind of press it. Then we'll flip it over and make sure we don't have any like pieces of fabric that are in the wrong location where it's like zipped up inside of the other fabrics. We don't want that. But I want this back pressed right. So see how like right here there's a little bit of give in that? We're gonna make sure we help that out by pulling a little bit on the fabric. You're not like trying to super pull, but you want to pull it enough to where it opens that seam. Okay, so there she is. There's a little bit off right there. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm a little off here, but not to the point where I feel like I have to unpick it. Everything else looks like I'm pretty well lined up on my points. I don't have very many that aren't. So pretty happy with that. We're going to take it over to the table to trim it up to make sure that it's 5 inches. And that is the block. Let's go get that trimmed. Okay, so we're just going to trim this up to make sure that it is 5 inches. And it looks like we did a pretty good job. I don't know if you can see that, but it's 5 inches there. We just have to trim up some sides, and I think we are pretty good. Totally not a whole lot that we're trimming, excuse my hand. Like we're literally just cleaning this block up. We're not really even trimming all that much off of it. It's just a tiny baby trim. Okay. And it is done. I guess you guys could see the little, so there's the little bits that I trimmed off. Not much at all. There is the block. It is a 5-inch block. See how beautiful it is. Turned out really well. I'm really happy with that. And then we're going to be doing the other blocks in the Dear Jane quilt. This is the A1. very first block in the quilt. So we'll just keep going with this, and we'll get a Dear Jane quilt when we're finished. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe.